I am Kay Murray, joined in the studio by Stevie Nicol and Alejandro Moreno, and we are going to start by talking about the transfer window closing and the Premier League setting a record, spending £1.9 billion, shattering what was the most spent in a summer transfer window back in 2017. They've spent more than La Liga, Serie A and the Bundesliga combined. The biggest spenders were Chelsea, followed by Manchester United, and Nottingham Forest signed more players in a single summer than any other British club ever, with 21. Let's welcome in Julien Laurent to talk more about this. Jules, is this good for the sport?
I don't know if it is or not, but we knew that English clubs were getting richer and wealthier and by definition stronger as well, and I think they showed their strength and their power again this summer by overspending, outspending everyone, overspending, sometimes paying way over the odds for some players, the ones that they really wanted, some others that they didn't really want, but still had to overspend on them to get some reinforcement. I think the top six, certainly, this is the greatest transfer window we've ever seen for the top six. If you look at every club, maybe Liverpool a little bit below the other five, but from the two Manchester clubs to the three London ones in Chelsea, Arsenal and Spurs, everybody strengthened where they wanted, mostly with the players they wanted, spending a lot of money and getting an amazing transfer window, really. So it's been incredible. It shows again why the Premier League will stay for many, many years to come, the best league in the world, because they've got so much more money than everybody else that they are able to have summers like the one we've just witnessed.
Is that a worry, Ali? Because we hear all this backlash against the Super League, but with these figures, are we seeing something that can be comparable to what would be a Super League?
Well, people were enraged about the Super League, and some are very touchy about it still, and the possibilities of the big teams getting together and having their own competition. Well, it may not be just the big teams getting together having their own competition, but in some ways you can make the argument that the Premier League is becoming their own Super League. There is no comparison in terms of what other teams can spend around the world compared to what the Premier League is able to spend. Now, that's not their fault, right? They've done their business correctly. They've done their marketing strategy correctly. Their TV deals are very powerful, 4 teams and eventually 4 players as well. So they are now in a position in which they walk into any negotiating room with most of the power. Even against teams like Barcelona, like Real Madrid, when you consider what is it that would be an attraction for a player in going to Barcelona and Real Madrid, it's more about the history rather than financially what these clubs can do for the player. They can no longer match what a team at the very top of the Premier League can put on the table. And that's just focusing on the teams and the top 6, top 7 that Jules was just mentioning. We just showed a graphic with Forest getting 21 players. That's Nottingham Forest, newly promoted, and yet they still have the spending power that other teams in other leagues have nowhere near that number. Again, it puts the Premier League in a very powerful position, but let's not forget, just for context, at one point, Serie A was in this powerful position. At one point, La Liga was in this powerful position. So it would be in the best interest for the Premier League to make sure that their plan makes sense long term and that they don't get too rich too soon, too fast, too strong, too powerful, and take it for granted. Because just the same way that it came up, it can also go down.
Does it concern you, Stevie, when you see these figures and what these clubs are spending?
The one thing that would concern me would be teams that are spending a lot of money that actually don't have the money. That's the concern. It's not the amount. If you have the money, then I'm fine with you going and spending it. But you kind of wonder where Nottingham Forest are getting all this money, and are they putting the future in any sort of jeopardy by spending all the money they are on all these players? That's the worry. You know, the fact that the Premier League brings in billions anyway, I'm fine if they spend the billions that they bring in. It's just if you're spending it and you don't have it, then further down the road, well, I mean, look at Barcelona. Look at the mess they got themselves in. We don't want that again.
What seems an issue, look, if Manchester City goes and spend money, if Manchester United spends money, if these big-name teams in the Premier League go and spend money, you figure, well, they have it. They got it, so they are powerful enough to then go and put that money on the table. But you're finding West Ham going and getting Lucas Paquetá. So now it's no longer just the big-name, huge-name brands in the Premier League. Now it's other teams that have the ability and the resources to go into other leagues around the world and go and get the top talent because they can pay for it, whereas other leagues in the world simply don't have it. Now, is it fair? Is it unfair? Well, the Premier League doesn't care. They're going to continue to thrive in this environment. As for the landscape of the sport across Europe and across the world, well, certainly it's tilted towards the Premier League, and it's going to make everybody else trying to figure out how is it that they remain competitive at the European level, and how do they remain competitive as a brand as compared to the Premier League?
Yeah, well, that's a great point you bring up, because obviously when it comes to financial fair play rules, we've seen clubs punished, 8 clubs punished and fined because of financial fair play restrictions, PSG headlining them. But Jules, is this the only way these clubs are going to keep up? Yeah, by the way,
I'm
no
sorry.
Premier League clubs are.
Hold on a second. Can I ask a question here? Tell me, please, this is what you just showed us there is what the clubs have been fined. Is that correct?
Yes.
You okay?
We've just been sitting here talking about how the Premier League has spent over $2 billion, right?
And you've got 1.9 billion.
And you've got clubs getting fined 600,000. I mean, seriously, for breaking financial fair play. What's the point? You go and spend 100 million on a player.
So
I'll tell
some
you
of
what,
the
we're going to
fines
fine
are
you 600
suspended.
grand. I mean, it's pocket change.
Right.
Yeah.
But the point gets to, though, they are going to be punished, whatever the price is. But is breaking their financial fair play rules and laws what is the only way to help them keep up with these Premier League sides, Jules?
Well, it's not a way, because it's not allowed. So you're not allowed to do whatever you want with your money. I mean, I see Stevie's points. Like you said, Kay, a lot of the sanctions have been suspended. So PSG is a 65 million euro fine, but 55 of those 65 millions are suspended for now to see if they get the books right and they can balance their books. And if they can, they will only pay the 10 million. If they can't do it, then they will have to pay the full 65, which, again, when fighting against financial fair play, will not help them. But the fact is that you can't overspend, because if you overspend, you're going to get caught. And we know there's a new FFP coming in action in 2024 that is a bit more complicated, that works a little bit differently than the old one that we knew from before, that maybe didn't really work in the way that some would have hoped that it was working, but it's still there somehow. But the thing is, I think Stevie was saying it, for English clubs, they've got the money, so they're doing nothing wrong. They've got the money, they spend it. The fact is they have just more money than everybody else, so they can spend more money because they have more coming in. So their books is not for all of those teams balanced, and some are taking risks like Nottingham Forest, but at least they've got so much money coming in that it's easier if you want to balance the books, compared to if PSG want to spend 300 million euros in one summer, then they need a lot of income coming in if they want to balance their books. So that's very different. But financial fair play, I think today was a reminder that, hey guys, maybe you forgot about us, but we're still here. Okay, maybe we're not as powerful as we wish we could be, but we're still here. So make sure that you keep up with us.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.